Hi there, good afternoon. You've tuned into ET now, and this is Market Fatafat with me, Cheryl D'Souza. Along with me, I have Vinny Motiwala. Very good afternoon to you, Vinny. And today it's a day where we actually saw the Nifty scale past 19,800. You saw Sensex scale past 67,000, but only that stayed for a little bit of time. After that, we've given up all of those gains. Right now, nudging towards the negative territory. It was the Nifty Bank that saw the sharper cut with the likes of Axis Bank, SBI, PNB, Kotak Mahindra Bank, even ICICI Bank also falling from the day's highest point. Right now, as you can see, it is nudging towards that positive territory, trying to regain some lost ground. But let's take a look at individual stocks and what are they doing in trade today. We have had a couple of stocks actually move on back of news flow, and all of those stocks we will talk about through the course of the show. Let's take a look at what the broader markets are doing, because that one is underperforming the benchmark indices. Surprise, surprise, small cap index is actually down 1% in trade today. It is actually underperforming the benchmark as well as mid cap index quite sharply. As of now, if you look at the advanced decline ratio, it is very much tilted in the favor of declines. We still have 2 hours of trading session left. And media index, realty, PSU Bank, all of them are top sectoral losers, with IT trying to hold the fort once again, 0.5% uptick for that one.
Absolutely, that's how the market is looking like. But on that note, let's get started with all the stocks that are buzzing in trade, either on the back of news first or on the back of technicals. And today on the technicals, we have Kunal Bothra joining in with us, while from the research team, we have Mamakshi as well as Lisa joining in with us. A very good afternoon to all three of you all. Good afternoon to you as well, Cheryl. And as always, I'm going to be starting with the first stock that is in focus, and we'll talk about Havells. We have an upgrade that is coming from UBS on Havells. They've upgraded the stock to a buy from a previous neutral rating, hiked the target price to 1,900 rupees per share from previous 1,360 rupees per share. Now, what they're believing is, and what they see is a strong structural growth. They believe that is going to be back for Havells. They see that alongside with the cyclical kickers of around $40 billion in the US market opportunity, which is there by FY28, that will also shape up for the company. And in the last couple of years, when you look at the concerns around that as well, in terms of that has been evaded off in terms of capital allocation, and start being a bit more in terms of return accretive as well. Now, valuation, obviously the best choice of play in the consumer electrical business is what they believe is Havells, and will move up with the growth and profitability curve. Sustained revenue share gains as well as higher share of the premium products will be something that will drive the growth and turnaround for the Lloyd segment specifically. That is something which will be driving the growth for Havells as well. And today, like you can see, the stock was buzzing in trade, given up those morning highs, but still holding on to gains of 2%. So good up move coming in for Havells today.
All right, that is Havells for you, but let's talk about Datamatics, and we spoke to the management as well. But first, let me tell you what's the news information on that particular counter. If you look at the stock, it had seen some sort of selling pressure of late, but today it's rebounded in trade. It gained as much as 14% or so on an intraday basis. The company said that they've called rumor news regarding the termination of the big partnership in the United States. The company is saying that the business is as usual in the United States. Also, they said any rumor of there being a fallout with one of their big clients in the United States, that particular rumor is absolutely false. In fact, we spoke to Rahul Kanodia, who's the vice chairman and the CEO of Datamatics, and he's also believing that the client concentration is not a big risk, and he also doesn't see any signs of slowdown in the United States, Europe, or even for the West Asia, for the matter of fact. Let's listen in to what he has to say.
Quarterly results and annual results, the concentration is very sort of controlled, is very healthy actually. The top 5, the top 10 is fairly evenly spread, and we are not dependent on any single large customer. I've been traveling a lot, meeting customers in Europe, Middle East, and the US, and I see no signs of any kind of slowdown in those markets. Customers are equally positive and robust about their own outlook and prospects and their relationship with Datamatics.
Okay, that was the management of Datamatics for you all. But let's move on and talk about a stock on the technicals. And the first stock that Kunal has picked up for us is Bata India. Kunal, in terms of the charts now, what is the indication that we're getting from Bata India? I can see that from April, we're seeing a bit of a pickup coming in, but overall last 6 months return has just been 6%. What should now one be expecting now from Bata India?
So weeks of consolidation for the stock price. You rightly pointed out that over the last few weeks, and especially over the last 2-3 months, the recovery has been very tepid for Bata India, but then the stock is also heading towards a breakout of sorts. Now, there are two breakouts which you look out for when a stock gets into a recovery. First is whether the stock gets into a 50% breakout of the previous correction, and the stock is now very close towards doing that. So possibly a retest of the 1700 mark for Bata India. This could probably get confirmed. And on the other hand, many of the indicators are coming back into a breakout mode. So the other way to look out for is the golden crossover, where the 50-day moving average crosses above the 200 DMA. That is also just about to take place for Bata India. So on the back of both the price as well as the retracement patterns, I would be bullish on Bata India and expect that the stock would break past above the 1700 levels, which should speed up the momentum from a short-term play. Targets of 1800 plus for Bata India.
Alright, so that's the target coming in for Bata India. 1800 plus is the target that Kunal has set for this one. But Lisa, let's talk about a stock that has been the top newsmaker today, then definitely Sheela Foam.
Cheryl, it was up 15% in early morning trade and it touched a high of around 1,369 per share. And this is because the company has confirmed the buyout of its rival Kurlon Enterprise, as well as they will be buying stake in furniture retail company, that is Furlenco. Remember that it was ET Now that had broken the story way back in December that Sheela Foam will be acquiring Kurlon Enterprise, and that has indeed come true. So talking about the finer details, they will be acquiring 94.6% stake in Kurlon Enterprise at an equity valuation of around 2,150 crore. And they will have a combined market share of around 21% in the modern mattress market. And Kurlon Enterprise, while it's more focused in the north and east region, Sleepwell is more focused in north and west region. So it will complement the acquisition that will complement both in terms of region as well as in terms of product. Now talking about Furlenco, they will be acquiring 35% stake in the furniture retail company, and it will allow Sheela Foam to enter the branded furniture market. So that is how it will augur well for Sleepwell. And in terms of acquisition, they will be acquiring the companies with both cash as well as a mix of debt and equity. So on the back of these acquisitions, Sheela Foam is up and it's trading at around 5% as we speak.
Absolutely buzzing in trade, and that is Sheela Foam for you all. But let's move on and talk about Newland Labs as well as Aditya Vision. Vamakshi, why are both these stocks in focus today?
Well, Vinny, both these stocks are in focus today because several notable investors have actually increased their stake in these counters. Let's first look at Newland Labs. Now, this stock is soaring in trade today. As you can see, it's trading nearly 7% higher, and this is after Mukul Agarwal has increased his stake by almost 0.17% to 3.29%. We also have KDR Securities increasing their stake by 0.08% to 1.25%. On the other hand, we have Malabar India, who is reducing stake in this counter by 0.67% to 12.93%. So largely on the back of this, we have Newland Labs in focus. Other than that, let's now focus in on Aditya Vision. We have Ashish Kacholia increasing his stake from 1.11% to almost 2%. So on the back of the shareholder changes that have come in from for these counters, we have several notable investors entering these stocks, and that is the reason why these stocks are in focus today. Newland Labs, as you can see, up 7%, while Aditya Vision is holding strongly in the green with a gain of around 2%.
All right, let's move on then, Kunal, and let's talk about Glenmark Pharma and how is this one placed on the charts?
So now trading at a fresh multi-month high for itself. This has been one of the few pharma names which has actually been more consistent in the price trend. So what I clearly like about the charts for Glenmark Pharma is that every time the stock gets into a correction, minor consolidation, it tends to make a higher low for itself. Look at the last 2 months of charts. So I think from the month of April end, the stock broke out of that 600 levels, and from an earlier level of 500, the movement from 500 to 600 took just about some 3 weeks or less than 4 weeks for Glenmark Pharma. And in the last 2 months, the stock has actually been sideways. So the movement from 600 to 700 has taken another 2 months for the stock price, which means every time the stock is going through a correction or a minor consolidation, it's taking its own time to consolidate and then move up higher. So that's a good sign for Glenmark Pharma. Would be looking out for higher targets on the stock price. I think 780 to 790 approximately could be the next leg of target for Glenmark Pharma.
Okay, keeping an eye out on those levels for Glenmark Pharma. But let's move on and talk about Infosys. Now, this stock is in focus. Why? Because a software exporter has inked an agreement with one of its existing clients to provide artificial intelligence and automation-led development, modernization, as well as maintenance of services as well. Now, this deal value is of around $2 billion, and it's going to be over a period of 5 years. So let's keep an eye out on Infosys. Let's not forget the company will be reporting its numbers on 20th July as well. So keeping an eye out on Infosys in trade.
All right, that is Infosys for you. That is bucking the trend in today's trading session. But let's shift focus. Let's talk about Grow Capital, and that particular counter is in focus in today's trading session. If you look at the stock price, you saw a sharp jump in today's trading session. You saw a jump of as much as 8%, and this uptick is after a large domestic investor, that is Suryavanshi Como Trade, a private, which is co-owned by large investor Ashish Kacholia, actually picked up 1.56% stake or 14 lakh shares in the company. This is as per the shareholding data on NSE. So post this particular development or this particular information, you can see Grow Capital still holding on to strong gains of excess of 5%.
Okay, let's move on and talk about Bharat Forge on the charts then. And Kunal, what is the target that one should keep for Bharat Forge now? And would you say at the current levels, is it still a good time to buy this stock, or maybe some bit of a consolidation when someone should look to buy the stock?
I think it's a good time to buy the stock at current levels itself. So, Vinny, the stock has been an underperformer with respect to most of the other peers in the similar sector. It was remaining into a range 900 to 750, 725 was the lower end of the range for Bharat Forge. But now the recovery seems to be getting a bit more pacier for Bharat Forge. It's broken past about 850 levels. In the last 1 or 2 weeks, we've seen volumes also steadily rising up higher. The stock has broken past about its respective 200 moving average. So I think on all of that front, looks very attractive. My expectation is that
Kunal stake coming in on Bharat Forge. But Lisa, let's talk about LTIMindtree, and this one was among the top losers on the Nifty in today's trading session, reacting to its earnings. What were the earnings? What are brokers saying?
Right, Cheryl. So LTIMindtree, they came out with their results post-market hours yesterday, and they reported quite a muted set of numbers. If I look at the scorecard, it was a miss on the revenue. The margin, though it was steady, PAT came in as expected. And if I look at the numbers, the revenue was at 8,702 crore. It was flat on quarter-on-quarter basis. EBIT stood at around 1,551 crore. It was up to 2% on sequential basis. Margin was at 16.7% versus 16.4%. And even the management, they said that they had noted, they had expected that the decision making by the clients that will end in Q1 FY24, but that is about to continue, and that will hurt revenue growth outlook for FY24. So while they anticipated double-digit growth for FY24, they seem quite cautious about it in the current macro environment. And even the brokerages, they also, though they have maintained underperform on the stock, they have talking about Jefferies, though they have maintained underperform on the stock, they have hiked the target price to 4,500 from 4,100 earlier, but they say that uncertainty that is weighing on the growth, and they have cut the FY24 EPS estimates by 1%. Even JP Morgan, they also sound quite bearish on the stock. They say that the FY24 double-digit growth that moves now to an aspiration level. So on the back of weak earnings and even brokerages downgrading and cutting their target, downgrading the estimates. So on the back of this, LTIMindtree is trending lower today.
Okay, let's also listen into Sudhir Chaturvedi, Director and President Markets at LTIMindtree, and how they are looking at in terms of the targets from the company, the growth for the company. Let's go across and listen in.
I think, for us, Q1 was in line with our expectations. We had guided this in our quarter four, statements that we had made post our earnings. What we've seen is, we've got a seasonal pass-through that happens in Q4, which is not reflected in Q1. So, net of that, we grew 0.9%, which is what we expected to grow. Where we focused our efforts was on to make sure that our order book continued to be strong. So that is reflected in the $1.41 billion of order book that we have. We will be in the range of 17 to 18% for sure. And we are continuing. This is on the basis of operational rigor. We are continuing to do, from an employee perspective, we have said that, we will have salary increases from July onwards. So we, proceeding every other aspect of our spend as per plan. But we've got several levers from an operational rigor perspective post the merger. We see areas that we can optimize further in order to make sure that we meet our exit margin expectation of being between 17 and 18%.
All right, moving on, Vamakshi, let's talk about Rallis India. Along with that, let's add even Tata Chemicals. Both of these counters are in focus, isn't it?
Well, yeah, Cheryl, you're right. Both these counters are in focus today, and especially Rallis. Look at the gain that has come in on this one. 1.5% higher is what it's trading at. Now, the news flow surrounding this is that Tata Chemicals has increased its stake in the company to 55.04%. Tata Chemicals has ended up buying nearly 97 lakh shares, or around 4.99% equity of Rallis at 215.05 per share, and this has happened through a block deal. So Tata Chemicals buying stake in Rallis is the reason why both these counters are in focus today. Shares of Rallis India have gained the most in the last 6 months. So on the back of this news flow, watch out for Tata Chemicals trading with gains of around 0.3%, while Rallis is up nearly 1.5%.
Okay, surely keeping an eye out on both these stocks today. But let's move on and talk about Zee Entertainment. Kunal, on the charts, especially when I'm looking at it in the last 1 month, this month as well, 26% return is what we've seen coming in. Now, today the stock price specifically is seeing a bit of a decline. But Zee Entertainment, what's your view on the technicals? What's the view on the charts? Because there is a lot of news flow around this. We've seen that sentiment that impacts the market sometimes and investors. But on the technicals, how is Zee Entertainment looking?
Well, it's looking very attractive, Vinny, because what has actually happened is that for I think the last 8 or 9 months, second half of 2022, when the stock was at 380, 350 levels, from that point the stock was consistently falling down on a monthly basis. At 170, 80 mark, where the stock made a low last month or so, the indicators were extremely oversold. What you are actually seeing right now is a very good recovery for Zee. And in the process of this last 8-month, 9-month downtrend for the stock price, we've seen for the first time the stock has formed a bullish engulfing pattern. Now, this generally is a strong indication that a major downtrend could have ended for the for the stock price. Now, yes, we've seen the stock rallying up from 170 to 230, but such kind of bullish engulfing patterns, they generally augur very well for the stock price over the medium to long term. Many a times we've seen major bottoms coming to fore for such kind of stocks. So I think Zee could be a stock which has to be on traders' radar, and if this bullish engulfing pattern sustains for throughout the remainder of this month, then I believe that there could be a significant upside which the stock can show over the next 6 months to 12 months.
Okay, keeping an eye out on Zee Entertainment and those levels over there. But let's move on and talk about Tex Macro Rail. Why is this one in focus? Now, the company's board has actually approved on fundraising of around 500 crores. That is going to be via an issuance of one or more of instruments, whether it could be equity shares, preference share allotments, or even convertible securities and non-convertible securities as well. So on the back of this that we've seen today, Tex Macro Rail was buzzing in trade, but as of now, given up those gains that we saw coming in, still holding on to 0.8% uptick as of now.
All right, moving on, let's talk about ITI. And remember, ever since Chandrayaan 3 took off, actually, you have a lot of companies that have actually come out and said that they were a part of the manufacturing division for the Chandrayaan 3 spacecraft. So ITI also today saw an uptick of as much as 4.2%, taking the stock to the highest level since June 20th. They said that they manufactured 55 packages for the flight vehicle in Chandrayaan 3 mission. They've also said that they've won the acknowledgements or accolades from the Indian Space Research Organization, that is ISRO, and also the Department of Telecom for its role in the launch. If you look at the stock price, it's trading higher for third consecutive session.
Absolutely, that is ITI for you all. Continuing the buzz since we've seen the Chandrayaan start flying, we've seen ITI also flying in trade then. Let's move on and talk about an IT name, and HCL Tech on the charts, Kunal. An interesting buy at the current levels. 4.7% uptick is all we've seen in the last 6 months. What is the upside now we should expect?
We try to determine stocks based on the recent patterns in terms of open interest. And HCL Tech is a classical case. The last 3 days, it's a staggering reduction of more than 24 to 25% of open interest for HCL Tech, which means 1 out of the 4 individuals who were actually shorting the stock, they managed to square off their positions. And look at what has happened in the last 3 or 4 days. The stock has recovered from 1100 or sub 1100 mark to 1160 plus levels, which means a strong gain of 6 to 7% for HCL Tech. So this move which you've seen over the last 3-4 days is purely on the back of some extreme amount of short covering for HCL Tech. We generally see the stocks to move in 3 stages. The first stage is where there's extreme amount of short covering, then slowly built up of long positions into the stock price, and the third stage is where we see delivery data increasing and improving for stock prices. I believe that we've just ended the phase 1 for many of these IT majors, including HCL Tech. There could be now a gradual build up of long positions which should take the stock much higher.
All right, that is HCL Tech for you. But Lisa, let's talk about Tata Elxsi, another earnings candidate which came up with his numbers post-market hours yesterday. How were they?
Right, Cheryl. So like LTI Mindtree, even Tata Elxsi, they posted muted set of numbers. If I look at the numbers, the revenue, it was up just 1.5% and stood at 850 crore. EBIT margin, that was steady at 27.05%. PAT came in at 189 crore. It was down 6%. So the margin dip on quarter-on-quarter basis, that was basically on the back of wage hike. And that impacted 140 bips of the margin. And the management, they highlighted a cautious outlook going forward because the deal closures that was delayed in this quarter, and it is also expected to be going forward in the next quarter as well. And they also had a cautious stance on their media and communication business as well. So on the back of these results, Axis Capital, they came out with a note on the stock. They have downgraded the stock from reduce to sell, and this is on the back of slower growth as well as on the back of high valuations. The target price is now at 6,250 versus 6,300 earlier. They say that they expect that the management, that the transportation business, that is expected to rebound, but the healthcare business, though that will continue seeing growth, but the media and communication business, that is expected to see some softness going forward. So we can see Tata Elxsi on the back of weak set of muted set of results, we can say, and on the back of these downgrades coming in, it's down around 2% as we speak.
Okay, let's move on and talk about a pharma name. And Kunal, on the charts, has picked out Biocon for us. And when I look at it, YTD also, it's been quite in a range of the 200 to 250 levels. What are the charts now indicating for Biocon?
So a stock which had corrected by more than 50% in the last 2 years, 2020 second half or 2021 start, the stock made a high which was around 475. Now, start of 2023, the stock at one point had fallen to sub 200 levels, which means a correction of more than 50% to 60% for Biocon in the last 1.5 to 2 years. What the stock is now trying to do is crawl back towards the strong psychological breakouts on a very gradual manner. So the last 3 or 4 months, the stock has taken some time to consolidate. The jump in volumes in the last 3-4 months of this price recovery is quite astonishing, and this indicates that there has been fresh build-up of long positions, as well as this rally which you've seen for Biocon is here to sustain and build up. So I think this becomes a stock from the pharma pack which was earlier ignored, as well as going through a downtrend, to now get back into the thick of an uptrend. I believe that the initial phase of the rally should be more gradual, but once the stock crosses levels of 350, I think that's where the momentum would accelerate for Biocon.
All right, moving on, let's put the spotlight on Rama Tubes as well as JSW Steel. If you look at Rama Tubes today, it actually saw a sharp uptick of as much as 6.9%, taking the stock to the highest level since June 6. From there on, it's given some of its gain. The company said they've inked an MOU with steel maker, that's JSW Steel, this in order to procure 1 lakh ton of hot rolled coils, and also they've signed a deal with JSW Steel's unit to produce about 2 lakh tons of pipes per annum. Remember that HRC is actually used to make steel tubes as well as pipes, and Rama Steel is now the official HRC distributor for JSW Steel in India's western region. So post this particular announcement, you can see the stock saw a sharp spike, as you can see it on your screen as well, taking the stock higher by about 6% or so, and stock is gaining for a 4th consecutive session.
Absolutely. Surely keeping an eye out on Rama Steel Tubes. But on that note, viewers, we're going to slip into a very short break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back with more stocks after this break.